What's up, y'all? How y'all doing tonight? Welcome to Hawks Hoops, your weekly NBA live show happens every day at 8 p.m. We're having some weird technical difficulties. I ain't gonna hold you. Some days setting up a live stream is extremely easy, right? Other days, setting up a live stream can tend to be difficult, but we made it work. Bluetooth situation up real quick and hit it hop. Appreciate you guys for pulling up as usual. Well, not necessarily as usual as it up, just as usual. Appreciate that because I know you don't have to. The last episode of the year, so it's a big episode for me personally. Milestones, yada. This is episode 8, and I really like where we've come, how far we've come, and 8. Currently pulling up phone lines. Half a second on that. Getting it squared away. Yeah. Topic. Meantime, how doing? Phone lines are officially open. Feel free to join the conversation. Call in 503. So I want to get started and hop right into the conversation. And the first person I wanted to talk about, the first topic, is the fact that Kyrie Irving is in the process of coming back. It was announced earlier this week that he has cleared safety protocols. I'm going out. It's been announced that he's cleared health and safety protocols. Him, Kevin Durant, and LaMarcus Aldridge, all in health and safety for the Nets, and it's cleared health and safety. They are cleared to play. So Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge probably in their next game. But for Kyrie Irving, as we know, New York City still has that law in place, where that rule in place, or if you're not vaccinated in public spaces, still can't play home games. Now, Steve Nash has said it's probably going to take about 1 to 2 weeks for him to ramp up to get to, I'd say, NBA shape, to get ready for the NBA. And he did have a press conference, and I had some quotes from him to talk about that in a little bit. But if you ask me, with Steve Nash saying 1 to 2 weeks, we could potentially the next big game for the Brooklyn Nets, January 5th against the Pacers. Personally, I don't know if we'll see him that soon. I feel like that is very, very soon. Especially considering Steve Nash said about 1 to 2 weeks. But their next next away game after that, January 12th against the Bulls, January 17th, Cavaliers. I personally expect to probably see him Bulls or the Cavaliers. I would love to see him against the Pacers. The sooner Kyrie can come back, the better. I just love seeing him play. He's extremely talented point guard. One of the best point guards the league's probably ever seen. Have him back would be great. Very curious to see how he meshes with Nets offense. Like I said, I did say I had some tweets. I wanted to show you guys that discussed Kyrie Irving's return. Tweets are from Alex Schiffer. If you don't know who he is a beat writer. Brooklyn Nets beat writer, but he works for The Athletic. So the same publishing company that Shams Serrano works for, same one that Alex Schiffer works. Happens to Nets. I just want to tweets. All right. So first off, we found out that Kyrie addressed the media for his first time since media day. Bigger. All right. So we got Alex Schiffer. This all started around almost 2 o'clock. Get news that Kyrie's been cleared the other day, and then around 2 o'clock we hear that Kyrie is having a first time talking to the press since the day where he basically not getting vaccinated around that we were season. So Kyrie is addressed in the media for the first time since Media Day. Kyrie says, I understood their decision to sideline me and I respect it. I haven't seen the full clip. Like, I haven't been able to find a full video of his press conference. I don't know if they didn't record video. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're going to at a later date. Alex Sheffer did release an article covering the press conference on The Athletic. I don't have an Athletic subscription. So, as I find out more information, I'm sure I'll make a TikTok. So follow me over there on TikTok. Or actually, you can stay subscribed to me right here on YouTube because I post my TikToks right here on YouTube Shorts as well. I'll make a YouTube short as I get more information about Kyrie Irving. Then Kyrie continued. He went on to continue to say, Kyrie said he was aware of the consequences of not being fully vaccinated and what it would mean for his season. So that's also good to know that Kyrie said, you know what, this is something I really want to stand on 10 toes down. And while I don't necessarily agree with the decision, if you're going to stand 10 toes down, you're going to stand 10 toes down. And Irving said he was playing pickup games around North Jersey, among other things, to stay in shape, but admitted today was the first time he's gone against pros, and said returning to practice was like riding a bike. This part I'm not really surprised about because, I mean, we knew other NBA players probably weren't going to want to play with him. Risk of, you know, catching COVID, falling into health and safety protocols themselves, whatever. I get it. That's probably why he hasn't been able to play pros. But I'm sure he did his best to stay in game shape. But NBA game shape is different than working out on your own. NBA players have said it before. I'm sure returning to practice was like riding a bike because he is that great of a player. But that's why I think Steve take those 1 to 2 weeks to really ramp him up, get him going with NBA level training, NBA level trainers and stuff like that. Get him running some full court practices. But I'm excited to see him back. Oh, and this is what it looked like. Like I said, I can't tell if they got cameras here. I'm going to assume there's probably some camera situation going on this side over here. But that footage just looking all day. I haven't been able to. But overall, I'm really excited. I am really excited to see Kyrie come back. I think he could be a big piece that the Brooklyn Nets team is missing. I think they definitely need him back. But at the same time, I wish he could have been there all season. I'm not going to talk about this too long because we spent some length talking about this last week when it was announced that they were slowly going to start to try to bring Kyrie Irving back. I'm just very, very, very curious of how it's going to work. Him being available for home games, available for away games and not available. I'm still not sold on that idea, to be honest with you. But if that's what they got to do, that's what they got to have him. So, okay. Moving on from that, I want to give a quick shout out to Kimball Walker. He returned for the Knicks. He got basically second chance to play because health and safety protocols are going crazy. Injuries are going crazy. The Knicks needed players, and they said, let's bring Kimmel Walker back and put him in the lineup. Especially once Derrick Rose went down again with... I can't remember if Derrick Rose is health and safety protocol or if Derrick Rose is actually running now. Like I said, I can't remember if he's actually injured. He is injured at least 8 weeks after. Oh, ankle surgery. Yeah, okay. I remember that. But yeah, with Derrick Rose being out, they decided to bring up Kimball Walker. And he's I won't say he's doing amazing. He had that 44-point game and that loss against 44 points in the loss against the Washington Wizards. They did win on Christmas, but it was against the Atlanta Hawks team that didn't have Trae Young. And they won this Timberwolves team that also had no one. That Minnesota Timberwolves team is looking really, really bare bones. But his first 3 games back looked really great. He had 29 points, 21 points, and 44 points in the first 3 games. Shooting splits are solid. In a 44-point game, he looked amazing. He 51% from the field, 50% from 3. And then he had 2 10-point games after that. Playing a lot of minutes. Like in these 5 games he's been back, he's averaging 38 minutes, which is a lot if you ask me for person who coming back and someone y'all said y'all really wasn't in the first place. That should be an example of how state of the NBA is right now with COVID running rampant in the league. The fact that a player like Kimball Walker, a player who the coach basically said they don't really want to play, now is basically averaging 40 minutes. So keep an eye on them. It's not much to say. I'm happy for Kimball. I'm happy to see him back and playing, but I don't know how long it lasts. It's probably, well, let me rephrase. It'll probably last as long as Derrick Rose is out because they need a point guard. So shout out to Kimball. Maybe he can prove that he can fit on this Knicks team. Moving on, I want to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are legit, bro. Like, the Grizzlies are a legit team. The Grizzlies are, I want to say, 4th in the West right now. I'm pulling up the standings. Yes, the Memphis Grizzlies are 4th in the West, 21-14. And that's a solid 3 games ahead of the 5th spot. So they're like a legit 4 seed right now. Trying to encroach on 3 seed, 24-9 Jazz. Like, the Memphis Grizzlies are legit. Loving what I'm seeing from them. They were able to pull together as a team and band together when Ja Morant went down. They actually were 10-2 while Ja was out. And since Ja's been back, they're continuing to win games, play well. And to be honest with you, their 10-2 record where Ja was out was not a knock on Ja Morant. I seen some, you'll see some hate on Twitter and stuff like that. People saying, "Oh, maybe they don't really need Ja Morant, yada yada." And then he even said on his first game back, there were some fans because they lost his first. And there were some fans that were like, "Yo, go back to the bench. We don't really need you." And he admittedly said he was like frustrated by that. But no, Ja Morant needs you. You are a superstar in the league now. And as long as he continues to play at the level he was playing at before his injury, if he can get back at that level, continue to stay at that level, Memphis Grizzlies are legit. I won't be surprised if Memphis Grizzlies have home court advantage at least the first round. Like, I can see them staying around 4. If they drop to 5, I would be a little bit surprised, but I can see them staying at the 4 seed to play. They're a legit team. They have dogs on that team. That's a dog team. If you're not watching the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm going to need you to pull up. I'm giving up on the Portland Trailblazers, y'all. I really am. I'm giving up. I was holding out hope for the Portland Trailblazers. Wanted them to be good. I really, really wanted the Portland Trailblazers to be good. They've been a favorite of mine for over the last couple of seasons. I'm a big fan of CJ McCollum. Podcast on a regular. I like CJ. I even like Yusuf Nurkic. I think he's an underrated big man in the league. At one point, at one point, I probably said Nurkic is probably like a top 10 big. Wouldn't be surprised if I said that at one point. And he went down with that injury a couple years ago, and I just feel like they've been spiraling and not really gotten back to their full potential. I feel like I've never seen the Portland Trailblazers play at their fullest potential. And now it's just like, it's ugly. Watching Portland Trailblazers games, it's a tough watch. They can't play any defense. Their offense is struggling. Dame's getting a little better, but he's still not himself. There is hope that CJ will be back soon. But it's rough. I ain't gonna hold you. It's looking a little rough for this Portland Trailblazers team. And I'm not holding on anymore. I stopped watching their game. I really, really. Mario says Dame don't want to be there, and CJ Pete trying to be out too. Hey man, listen. It's funny that you say Dame don't want to be there because I feel like he literally just had an interview the other day talking about how loyal he was and that he was there and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know what he wants to do. I think Dame's at the point now, or maybe he realizes if he does want to be there, I'll put it to you this. You said this a couple weeks ago, and I disagreed with you, but I'm starting to think you're right because it's looking real bleak. If Dame stays, they got to pay him that 102 2-year deal that he. Like, I think that's the only thing that's gonna keep him. Like, he's gonna stay. He's gonna take his bag. He's gonna realize no one wants to come to Portland. They don't have the assets to trade for another star to play alongside of him, and I think he's just gonna be like, "Yo, pay me a bag. Let me get the biggest contract in NBA history. I'll at least make sure we're a playoff team. I'm in a slump this season, but give me that bag, and I'll at least make sure we're a playoff team while I'm here. Not gonna win nothing, but get paid, and the team will make some money because they're gonna." I'm going to talk about the Heat real quick. I want to give them their flowers. Um, because the Heat are dealing with a lot, right? The Heat had Jimmy Butler was out, had a bunch of players on COVID protocol. They had Bam Adebayo still out, and then I want to say probably like episode 5, episode 4, or something like that. I said that when Bam went down, it was like the end of November, beginning of December. When Bam went down, I said if the Heat can withstand December and give Bam those 4 to 6 weeks, I'm very very high on this Heat. If the Heat can somehow be 100% healthy towards the end of the season and going into the playoffs, you don't want to face the Heat in the first round. To be honest with you, you low key don't even want to face the Heat in the second round. The Heat have proven to me that they are a deep team, they are resilient, and believe it or not, they went 9-5 in December so far. They have one more game. They play on New Year's Eve. Play in a second, but play on New Year's Eve against the Rockets. If you ask me, I'm going to go on record and say they should be 10-5 in the Rockets, especially because Jimmy Butler is back. And they're just a really, really good, really resilient team. I did not expect this from them. They're finding guys who can. It's like they're just developing players well. They got Max Strus that came out of nowhere, the Strus Goose, and he's been playing really well these last couple of games in December. He wasn't playing well the whole month of December, but his last 1, 2, 3, 5 games, he put up 32, 24, 18, 26, and 13. Last 5 games, I want to say he's averaging like 19 points, which 22 points in his last 5 games. Very, very good for him. 44% from 3 and 50% from the field. Do I think he will sustain this all season? No, I really don't. This came out of kind of sort of nowhere for him, but because he was in a position where they needed him to step up, it was next man up mentality. That's kind of why I'm a fan of this Heat team. I've been a fan of this Heat, I'll say, organization over the last couple of years because they definitely have a next man up mentality. They fight, they're dogs, and they get it done. They get it done. Speaking of people fighting and people who are dogs, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, this ain't gonna be the longest episode. This might be the shortest episode we got. I'm about halfway through my notes, and we 18 minutes in. About 8:30, 8:40, we probably gonna be calling it a night. I'm a little tired. I told you. Also want to play too. Full transparent. I want to give a shout out to some of the guys that are staying ready, stayed ready, were ready when the league called them for the 10-day contract. There are so many players getting 10-day contracts right now. I read a stat the other day that I think so far, like 550 players have played in the league. That's like an extra 80-ish players. I don't know, probably like an extra 50 players have been signed to 10-day contracts throughout this season so far, due to people basically on COVID protocols. And some of these guys are stepping up and playing well, some not so much. But I wanted to add a little context because I've seen some people hating on players like Joe Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. First off, shout out to Isaiah Thomas because it's been news came out today or yesterday that he's going to be signing with the Dallas Mavericks, and he should be joining the team in their next game against Sacramento, which is either tonight or tomorrow night. But I want to shout out to IT. You know what I mean? He stayed ready. He stayed in the gym. He stayed working. Celtics did him dirty. I wish he would have took that first contract. I'm going to get back to my 10-day contract guys tangent in a second, but I think IT actually would be a good pickup for the Dallas Mavericks. But I think he's going to fix everything that's wrong with that team? No. But one thing that is wrong with that team is they need scoring. They need to score. Someone else who can create their own shot outside of Luka Doncic. Is he going to be a defensive liability? Yes. Are the Mavericks already trash at defense? Also, yes. So how worse can he make your defense if you're already trash? That's how I'm looking at it. They're trying to have a better offense, not necessarily a better defense, and that's what that signing does. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't think they should start him, but I think he'd be a great 6, 7, 8 man for that team. Come in, give y'all some scoring, maybe take the ball out of Luka's hands at times. I'm just really happy for Isaiah Thomas. Really, really happy. But to give some context too, a lot of these guys in these 10-day contracts, y'all got to remember, So I've seen some hate. I've seen some hate about Isaiah Thomas because yes, he had that solid, I want to say 14, 18 point game with the Lakers, and then he didn't have some other great games. I've seen some people say Joe Johnson really didn't do that much for the Celtics. So I've been seeing some hate about these 10-day contracts, and y'all got to remember, or at least realize, that some of these guys, while they were trying to stay in shape, while they might have been working out, some of them might have been playing in the G League even. They also, the NBA is a different level. NBA ain't the G League. If the G League, everybody in the G League can make it to the NBA, they would, but they can't. So that's why we have a G League. That's why we have other professional leagues. That's why guys play overseas. NBA is a different breed. So guys have to be able to ramp up to play at the NBA level very, very quickly. Some of these guys got signed to a 10-day contract at 9 a.m. and then played in the game that night at 9 p.m. Like, that's how fast some of these 10-day contract guys are. That's how fast some of these guys have to be ready for these 10-day contracts. You also have to realize that if a guy might not be playing well offensively or defensively, it might not even be that he's a bad player. He's playing on a brand new team. He might not know the offensive schemes. They probably emailed him over, airdropped him the playbook, airdropped him stuff like that. The plays, the playbook, defensive schemes. Probably talked to the coaches. They told him to read over the game plan, stuff like that. But they ain't had no training camp. They wasn't in no film sessions watching. They ain't have no practices. So it's like these are literally guys basically coming off the street. Not literally off the street, but in terms of the knowledge of what this team is running offensively and defensively. Basically, guys coming off the street and being asked to, hey, do your best because we need warm bodies. So before next time you see somebody, or you maybe even yourself thinking about talking smack or hating on some of these guys that are on these 10-day contracts, just remember they literally might have signed that contract this, and it might have never thought to watch that team play, don't know the schemes that this team runs, and are asked to play an NBA game. So it's really rough. It's really a rough task. And shout out to the 10-day guys that are able to plug and play, and some of them that are putting up really good minutes and being solid additions to some of these teams, and could potentially turn in and get some contracts themselves in the future. Shout out to them. In the spirit of, we'll save that for. I want to talk about the All-Star game, not the All-Star game though. Yeah, I guess All-Stars in general. All-Star voting is open if you don't know, so vote for your favorite players, you know what I mean? I want to say the first returns came back recently. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. I want to say maybe I didn't. Can't find them now. But NBA the All-Star voting is open. Hey, just got here. What are we talking about? By Blueberry. Right now we're about to talk about some All-Star stuff. We just got talking about 10-day contracts and people like that, but now we're going to be talking about my thoughts on All-Stars season. I guess I'll say All-Star selection, All-Star voting this season. First off, I want to say we about to see a lot of first-time All-Stars. I really think we're going to see a lot of first-time All-Stars because between COVID and unfortunately between injuries, there are a lot of guys who going into this probably had pinned as locks that aren't going to be like just aren't going to make it because they either won't be able to play, they might have COVID by then. Like, you got to think, Anthony Davis, he's going to miss a big chunk of time. He might not make all. He might not even be available to play or want to play All-Star team. Guys like Zion Williamson, who probably would have been a lock for All-Star because we all expected to see him this season, but at this point, we're probably not even going to see him at all. Paul George just went out with an injury. He's probably be out like 3-4 weeks. That might impact his All-Star selection or whether he decides to play or not. Kawhi Leonard's out this season. Klay Thompson's probably not going to make an All-Star team because we still haven't seen him. Probably won't see him till early to mid-January. Guys like that, guys that are typically locks for an All-Star game, aren't going to be aren't going to be locks this year. Just aren't even. You know what I'm saying? Players like, dare I say, I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to bother to say it. But my point is, you're going to see a lot of brand new All-Stars that I'm really, really excited for. I got a short list of some guys I think could be first-time All-Stars. Really be excited to see them make an All-Star team, and I think there's a case for it. First off, Ja Morant. Do I need to say more? So I need to say more. Ja Morant should make an All-Star. Anthony Edwards could potentially low-key make an All-Star game, especially if the Memphis Grizzlies stay around that 4 seed spot. They mess around and take a 3 seed, then we're really talking. LaMelo Ball. Only reason I could see him making it because of his fan base. The Hornets aren't necessarily playing the greatest at the moment right now. They're not terrible, but they're not the greatest right now. Hornets are currently 7 seed, 18 and 17. 7 seed, you could get an All-Star. And LaMelo would be their All-Star. I'd love to see him make an All-Star team. Fred VanVleet, it's going to be a stretch, but he's having a really, really good season. The Toronto Raptors aren't really playing that well. They're the 12th seed right now. Seeding doesn't always play in the All-Star selections, especially when it comes to the reserves, but sometimes it will. If it's close, they might take the higher seeded player. But for example, a player who made it last year that a spot's going to be opened up from, Domantas Sabonis, he made it last year. He's not going to make it. Nikola Vucevic made it last year. He's probably not going to make it. There's a lot of open spots is my point here. Darius Garland better make an All-Star team. Like, there are no ifs, ands, or buts. Darius Garland needs to make an All-Star team. And the last person, which based on his play the last couple of years, I don't think anybody would have necessarily expected or thought he would have made All-Star team. Andrew Wiggins, high key, could potentially make an All-Star team. Now, granted, in my opinion, if he makes the All-Star team, that means the Warriors would probably have 3 All-Stars. But Steph's a lock. In my opinion, Draymond Green is a lock. I mean, his numbers might not jump off the page at you, but when you watch Warriors basketball, Draymond Green is pivotal to their offense and their defense. Like, me personally, Draymond Green is just as much as important as Steph Curry. Draymond Green is just as important to the Warriors as Steph Curry, in my opinion. Offense runs through him. He creates so much for Steph. Their chemistry is immaculate. So if Andrew Wiggins makes it, to me, that's locking in 3 All-Stars. DeAndre Ayton could also be a 3rd All-Star potentially for the Phoenix Suns. He's having an amazing season as well. I'm really liking what the vibe I think we're going to get from this year's All-Star team. I think we're going to have a lot of first-year All-Stars. And I also think we're going to have a lot of All-Stars. So historically, All-Star teams only 24 players in total, 12 on each team. However, what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot of players who fall in a health and safety protocol and can't play. So they're going to call in a ton of replacements. There are going to be some players. I think they're giving players the option to opt out because of COVID. Don't quote me on that, but I've heard it mentioned twice already. I haven't done my full research myself to make sure that's true, but I have heard that twice, that they might be giving players the option to decide to not play because of COVID. If that's the case, we low-key could have 35 All-Stars, 30 All-Stars. Because even if you decide not to play, or even if you can't play because of health and safety, you still get the notation of All-Star on your resume, even if you didn't play in a game or can't play in a game. Those are the beauty. And I'm really excited. I think that's pretty dope. I think that could be good for a lot of these young guys to get the feel to be in an All-Star game early. Give them something to know what that feels like, to continue how to play at a high level, to try to make future All-Star teams for the league in general. I think it'd be pretty cool. I ain't gonna hold you. Be coming to the latter half of the episode. With 2021 coming to a close, like I said, this is the last episode of this year. Next episode we have will be in the new year, so that'll be exciting. I want to talk about my favorite moment of the 2021 year, not necessarily go from January to now, or half of last season and basically half of this season, and hands down, no competition. My absolute favorite moment is Giannis scoring 50, winning the championship. I think it gave him he already had like a fairy tale story of getting in. You know Giannis, you know his story. Know the sacrifices his family's made to get him and his brothers to this point. The sacrifices his parents made, sacrifices that him and his brothers made. The fact that all three of them are now in the NBA. Technically, the fact that all 3 of them are champions. Really just like literally a fairy tale storybook story. Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you ask me, he's one of the most likable guys in the league. He leaves it all out on the court, gives great interviews, great sound bites. I'm a big fan of his, and I feel like that stamped him as literally one of the. He'll go down as one of the greatest players of his generation. I don't know if he'll necessarily go down as one of the greatest players of all time, but it's very, very possible. If you ask me, he should be in that conversation of one of the greatest of all time. I'm not calling him the GOAT. I'm not saying he's top 10, whatever, but people are gonna know Giannis's name 20 years because his resume at the age of 27, 28 years old is already better than a lot of all-time greats. He has a championship. He has MVPs. He has All-Star MVPs. He has Finals MVP. He has Defensive Player of the Years. He has All NBA selections. He has All Defensive selections. Like, his resume is absolutely insane. So shout out to Giannis. That is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite moment here. And then I wanted to close out the show with this one last thing. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Essentially, y'all might remember this. News broke out about this a couple years ago. They were talking about an in-season tournament. And what that would look like, it'd be what's called, by knowledge, pool play, which means your early games will determine your seeding in the tournament, and then it would be a quick single elimination 18 tournament. So it would really only be 2 games if you 3 games, 2 games, 3 games. They go from 8-4 to 4-2 and 2-1. So it'd be 3 games if you win, 3 rounds of quick, simple 18 tournament around December time. I think it'd be really, really good for the league. It's not set in stone yet, but Woj did tweet the other day that they are coming into closer talks. Ricky Rubio has a part of the Cavs' success. How do you think his injury will affect the Cavaliers? Great question, Blueberry. Let me just finish this thought real quick. I think it's really cool. I think I would love an in-season tournament. I think it has potential to get some excitement around the league in November and December to make these games matter. And I think players will like it because right now it's looking like the winner of that tournament will get $1 million each, which would have incentivized the players to play at a higher level in some of those early season games, and especially in the tournament itself. I think it could turn into a really good product for fans to see. But to answer Blueberry's question, Ricky Rubio has been a part of the Cavs' success. Big part of the Cavs' success. Ricky Rubio dang near revitalized his career. Nobody was really caring about Ricky Rubio last couple of seasons. And this season, he's been very, very good for the Cavs. I think his injury will affect the Cavs. I'm actually happy you asked this question because I wrote it down on a piece of paper to talk about it, but I didn't put it in my Apple Notes that I use for the actual show. So thank you for asking this question, Blueberry. It's definitely going to affect the Cavaliers. They're going to miss him for sure. I think he brought a lot of poise to this team and the ability to run the offense. Like Ricky Rubio was looking like Spain Rubio. He was looking like the version of Ricky Rubio that Timberwolves expected to get when they brought him over from Spain. You know what I mean? And they're going to miss him. His injury will affect them a lot. I don't think it's going to tank their season. I'll be honest. I don't think it's going to tank their season. They're still going to remain a playoff team. I think they're still going to remain a 500 team. Looking at the standings right now, they are 5th in the East. They could drop. I think the 76ers could be a better team than the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's my opinion as a Sixers fan. But then when you look at teams like the Hornets, the Wizards, the Celtics, the Knicks, those teams that are in that 7 down, Cavs should still be better than them, even without Ricky Rubio. That's the level of basketball they are playing. So in terms of them having to play in a play-in tournament, I don't see that happening. I see them staying around that 6 seed. I don't see them dropping to the 7 seed, the 8 seed after play-in tournament. Definitely don't see them. So they're going to miss him for sure, but I think they'll be able to continue to remain solid. So, question. I ain't gonna hold you guys. Like I said earlier, this was gonna be a shorter episode. I just want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for pulling up. Thanks for hanging out. Rio, appreciate it as well. Always. Blueberry, thank you for asking your questions and hopping in the chat. I will see you guys next Wednesday, 8 o'clock per usual. And I just want to say thank you for rocking with me. This is only episode 9. Started this show this season, and I'm very proud and happy for where it's gone in its first year of inception. My year in 10 weeks. I got some. What's I'm looking for? Goals for 2022 in terms of where I want to take this show, where I want to take the ability to share my basketball thoughts with you all, and Thank you, and appreciate you for riding along on the journey. I'm out. I'm gonna go play some 2K. I'm a little tired, and have a great New Year, Blueberry. Wish everyone who watches this a safe New Year. Celebrate with your family, celebrate your friends. Don't go too crazy. COVID is out here. I will be at home with my wife. We watch the ball drop on. Appreciate you all so much for watching. Out. Peace.